and Tobago has a new Prime Minister who was a previous Prime Minister. Yes, Kamla Persad-Bissessar today sworn in for a second time to serve as the most senior politician in the Trinidad Republic after leading the UNC to a sweeping win in Monday's general election. We'll hear what happened at her inauguration today, what she has pledged to do for the country, and the difficult road ahead of her as she tries to rebalance the Trinidadian economy and society that is a bit out of kilter at this point. We also go to the Cayman Islands, where the voters voted in the general election on Wednesday. No clear majority, so now the parties are wheeling and dealing as they try to get to the magic number of 10 to form a quorum inside the nation's parliament. It's an election-themed program today, Lead Story. Let's start the show. Welcome back to Lead Story here on CVM TV. I should probably say welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV. So a tale of two elections, Monday in Trinidad and Tobago, the Twin Island Republic, and of course Wednesday in the British Overseas Territory, the Cayman Islands. So here is what we have. Here's what we have. The fact of the matter is that those two elections had contrasting results. And I said British Overseas Territory, Cayman Islands, well, you know how that goes. The Cayman Islands, no decisive winner. A case of 7-4-4-3, yeah? Three independent candidates winning seats in the House. TNT, though, a decisive victory for the United National Congress of Kamla Persad-Bissessar. And so, in case you missed it and you don't know what are the details about what happened in Trinidad and Tobago, neither what happened in the Cayman Islands on Wednesday, my producer was kind enough to prepare this for you.
Kamla Persad-Bissessar was officially sworn in as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago on May 1, 2025. This marks her return to the top job after leading the country from 2010 to 2015. Her party, the United National Congress, UNC, together with a coalition of interests, won a clear majority in the April 28 snap election, taking 26 out of 41 seats. This victory brought an end to the People's National Movement's PNM 10 years in power. The early election happened after Dr. Keith Rowley indicated his intention to step down in January 2025, ending a long career in public service. Stuart Young took over as Prime Minister in March, but because he wasn't elected by voters, there was a public backlash. This led to Parliament being dissolved and early elections being held. After the election, the PNM saw a wave of resignations. Stuart Young quit as party chairman on April 30. The next day, Dr. Rowley announced he would step down as political leader. Rohan Sinanan, the former Works and Transport Minister, also resigned as deputy political leader, signaling big changes inside the party. Now 73, Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar has promised to tackle some of the country's biggest problems, including rising crime and a struggling economy. Her plans include raising public workers' pay, protecting pensions for older citizens, and reopening the state-run oil company Petro-Trin, which was closed in 2018. With the UNC back in charge and the PNM reworking its leadership, Trinidad and Tobago is entering a new political chapter. The spotlight is now on Persad-Bissessar and her team to deliver on their promises and lead the country through this period of change. We discuss on Lead Story. Angela Melville for Lead Story.
Thank you, Angela. Break time. Back with more after these.
This morning.
Your girlfriend what I do in my corner office.
In your corner office.
Yeah.
We're going to a marine biologist kind of flight. That corner office. We'll be studying the environment this morning. In the boat.
Yeah.
In the boat. So tune in to the underwater corner office. You never know what you'll find out.
Hold on, this is what you're wearing, Carl?
Yeah, man.
You come bush out though.
Bush out for the boat. God is on board. Fret not.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. We've got everything, stocking top brands like CNCs, Philips, and Allen Bradley. We guarantee quality and reliability. Shop with us and save with even free island-wide delivery. Conditions apply. Visit us at Shop 8 Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in electrical business.
Back with us here on Lead Story. So to Trinidad and Tobago we go now, where Kijan Haynes is the lead editor for News Gathering at Guardian Media. He spoke with me on Monday, and he has consented to speak with us today again on Lead Story. Good evening again, Kijan.
Hey, good evening. Nice to be back.
Excellent. All right. So Kamla Prasad Bisesar has put several careers on hold, and she has retired some people from the political arena. When she spoke at her inauguration speech today, what did she tell the people of TNT that she's about to do for them?
Well, she's promising a lot. She's promising crime to go down within 6 months. She's promising that everybody will be happier within that 6 months. We wait to see what that's like and what that really means. But a lot of this speech really did resonate in terms of it was sort of a victory lap. A sort of, you guys all thought that I was gone, but I'm back. And I want to thank everybody who believed in me during this time when everybody wanted to put their, when everybody pumped me out to dry. She thanked a lot of the people who stayed with her during this time.
Was Monday's vote, Kijan, an endorsement of the UNC, its policies and its candidates, or simply a rejection of the status quo under Rowley's PNM?
Typically, we vote people out rather than vote them in. So I think it really was a rejection of the Rowley administration. A lot of people are still wary of the Kamla Prasad Bisesar government, given how things went back in between 2010 and 2015. It was not a smooth run for them. But the hope is, and I think a lot of people hope, that she learned from her mistakes and she doesn't make the same mistakes again. She's already promised that if any of her MPs or ministers step out of line, and she said if you're rude to the people, like, I have no problem removing you. So we wait to see. Like, you really kind of hope she's getting a second chance and she doesn't mess it up.
Yeah, usually a point like that, Kijan, which is a strong point, is usually fluffed over by a host. I won't do that because I'm going to take you up on that. When she says that she's eternally grateful to those who stuck with her through the dark days, through the rainy days, what if one of them infringes in their dealings with the people or in their discharge of duties assigned to them by her? Surely she won't be able to keep her word of just pulling the trigger.
Yeah, and well, what I think is most interesting is that in this new era of politics, that she described there of getting rid of ministers when they misbehave was what she did in the last administration. Anybody who stepped out of line, and they did a lot of times. There were lots of allegations of corruption, misbehavior in public office and those things, and they were gone. In this new era of politics, this new era of a Trump sort of politics where you admit to nothing, you deny everything, at no point do you ever step down. I'm wondering which path she'll take. Will she actually, or will she go down this line of, for lack of a better word, wrong and strong throughout the next 5 years?
What about meat on the bones, though, Kijan? Because it's one thing to say, I will reduce crime in 6 months. Another one to say, I will spark the economy back into life in 3 months or in 2 quarters. What is the central policy of Kamla Prasad Bisesar coming into office now where the economy and crime are concerned?
Well, you see, that's the interesting thing. We don't have those things. A lot of these promises were very soundbitey and catchy, and they didn't really get into the nitty-gritty details. Okay, let's take, for instance, salaries. They're going to start public sector salary negotiations at 10%. Start at 10% when the previous government is telling you we can only afford between 4 and 5. Like, how does that work? Where are you getting the money from? And when she asked that, she just says on the platform, we will find the money. And a lot of things, those are one of the things that it's a problem. It's not as easy as taking a loan for a one-off. This will become recurrent expenditure. So we would need to raise the revenue to match this new recurrent expenditure. And we're not quite understanding how. Let's touch on the issue of Petrotrin. Petrotrin was one big company which focused on 3 aspects: upstream, the upstream energy industry, that's exploration; downstream energy, which is the materials that come from oil and gas; and then the refinery. What really happened was the government, instead of one big company, made 3 companies, and then they shut down the refinery. And that's what she's looking to reopen, the refinery. But the refinery was losing billions of dollars a year because we don't produce enough oil to refine. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens there.
On the point of crime, I note that our good friend, Mr. Alexander, got himself into the parliament, winning his seat. In terms of national security, I mean, the UNC weren't short of critics to attack Fitzgerald Hines, in my view, woeful previous national security minister in TNT. Is there any whispers that Alexander is in running to be appointed security minister? And if not him, who?
Listen, this is one of the strangest times, because Roger Alexander is not without a lot of allegations hanging over his head in his time as a police officer. There are allegations there. He's previously faced charges of assault, which were eventually dropped, but he was suspended for at least 2 years while he had to face those charges. But you really have to think about how many other law enforcement officers we've had in that national security position, and you wonder if that isn't the right person for the job, because we've had police officers. Fitzgerald Hines was a police officer. We've had several people from the Defense Force, and all of them seem to have struggled in the position. So who do you put, really?
Yeah. And Kishan, you've articulated very well about the economy, the lack of a big idea, uncertainty about who will lead the national security portfolio. There are other problem areas in the TNT economy and TNT society at this time. In terms of a cabinet that she can assemble, who are the bright sparks who are set to take on some key assignments from your perspective?
Well, what we thought was interesting is that the Attorney General, our cabinet, must have a Prime Minister and Attorney General. So she only swore in the Attorney General today. Most of those people who won are lawyers. So we thought any one of them would have been the Attorney General. And she ended up picking the Attorney General who served under the PNM, who was a rabid. He went after the UNC during his office during his tenure in office. So picking him, John Jeremy, a former PNM AG who went after the UNC, to be her AG is by itself confusing. There are a few names that you think. There's a former school principal that we think he's tipped for at least the position of Minister of Education. There are a few people who had what they used to call shadow ministries. So if the PNM had a Minister of Education, the UNC said, well, I am the shadow Minister of Education. So maybe some of those people who held those portfolios might fill into those places, but I don't like to speculate on cabinets, because it's just up to the Prime Minister. She can wake up tomorrow and decide. It is,
but I still have to ask you about my good friend Anil Roberts. What likely is the role that Anil may play in this UNC administration?
I think the country is really waiting with holding their breath on that one. Arnold Roberts is still a very controversial figure in this country. A lot of people have not forgotten the live sports scandal and some of his other scandals, and just the way he's carried himself as an opposition senator. People are waiting to see, but let's put it this way. When people have described the UNC as a place where there is no bottom, there's no low, like how low can you go and they go lower? Arnold Roberts was that low because he didn't get chosen for a seat in the election. So you're really starting to wonder, okay, what will he get if he will get anything?
Yeah.
That one we're all waiting to see.
Yeah, and of course I have to ask about the PNM because I did say that Kamla Prasad Bisesar has ended several careers and paused the aspirations of others. What of the PNM now, Kijan? Who will emerge as this leader to pick up the pieces of what has been a disastrous election campaign and result?
Yes.
And of course, the chips in the bucket the bucket is almost empty, bereft of chips. Who will pull this party together?
It's not completely empty. So the person that they've chosen for opposition leader is Penelope Beckles. Penelope Beckles has made several runs for leader of the PNM, and she's lost every time, obviously. But she's been a favorite. People seem to like her. People believe in her. She's a former Minister of Housing, a former Minister of Planning. She was in the UN for a little while. Very bright woman. But after a while, people started to realize that maybe she had given up on herself. And so she kind of carried herself that way. And so in terms of, I'm just here for the paycheck. So we really will have to see now if she gets that renewed vigor that she may have had 10, 15 years ago to run the PNM and run the country, and see if, she carries this torch. Because the people in the party believe in her, the people in the country believe in her, she has to believe in herself.
Excellent. Very much appreciate your time and your expertise, Kijan. All the best to you. Really appreciate your time.
All right, thank you, man.
Kijan Haynes is the lead editor, news gathering at Guardian Media, and he is the man in TNT who's given us insight consequent upon the election victory of the UNC and the swearing in of the Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesar earlier this afternoon.
When you talk about soca royalty, this is what you're talking about. When Bungie meet Faye and Bungie say, yes, so the buck stop, Were you pregnant?
Oh, yes, I definitely was pregnant. I had her 6 days later.
Yeah. Well, Faye, man. There's an unspoken rivalry there. We even war over who for KFC, mother. Well, that is not really a war still.
Somebody take off this mic, come on, please. Or cut the show off, Or you want to come and give me on a freestyle in front of the media, a big word like encyclopedia. Watch here. All right, Wayne Marshall, thank you very much.
Look at people. I told you, this man is not a normal human being.
The Cut, brought to you by Flow.
All right, going to the Cayman Islands now and turning to Andrel Harris, a journalist at the Cayman Compass, for some perspective on what happened in the general election on Wednesday. Andrel, good evening. Welcome to Lead Story here in Jamaica.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right. Bring my viewers up to speed, Andrel, with how the election played out on Wednesday and some of the big-name casualties from the vote.
All right, well, let's start with there were 19 seats up for grabs with just over 58 persons running across the 19 constituencies. What we saw was that no individual groups actually managed to get a clear-out majority. There is the People's Progressive Movement, or the PPM, the longest-running political party, which managed to get 7 seats. Then the other 2 parties, the Cayman Community Party and the Cayman Islands National Party, both secured 4 seats each, leaving the remaining 4 seats divided amongst the independent candidates. Now, what that simply means is there's going to be a coalition government of some sort. We simply don't know when that will happen. Of the major casualties across the Cayman Islands, perhaps the most significant would be that of the former Speaker of the House and a former leader of government business, former Premier, Mr. Makiva Bush of West Bay West. Mr. Makiva Bush was the father of the House, having served for 40 years, and he was ousted by first-time candidate Miss Julia Hydes of West Bay West. So that was perhaps the largest shocker of them all, although there are signs, some might say. Another person that we saw lose their seat was another sitting member, was Miss Sabrina Turner of the Prospect constituency. But Prospect is a swing state, if you might. We've seen over the course of the last several elections where the incumbent is ousted with a new face coming in. So Miss Turner, Sabrina Turner, who previously held the seat, ousted Mr. Austin Harris, and now she's in turn been ousted by Mr. Michael Miles.
Yeah. So Andrel, who is the most likely coalition partner for the PPM? A lot of wheeling and dealing must be happening behind the scenes right now. Who is the most likely partner?
Well, let's just start with the rumor mills are rife. They're filled with speculations, and the most recent speculation I heard was that the 2 parties that received 4 votes each, or 4 members each, that being the TCCP and the CINP, were actually looking to join forces with a few of the independents. Now, as far as the progressives are concerned, there were other persons along the campaign trail who made it clear, such as Mr. Saunders, an incumbent in the Boddentown West constituency, who made it clear that of all the political parties, the progressives would be the one he would be most willing to work with. Right now, we're pretty sure that a lot of horse trading is going on behind the scenes, and we anticipate a government could be formed before the end of the week. Granted, Friday is the last working day, but perhaps by Saturday, you just never know.
Yeah, well, in some jurisdictions, the party that wins a plurality of the votes is the one that then has the responsibility of picking. But you're saying that even with 7, the PPM may be muscled out of the picture. If the parties, both parties who've won 4, if they come together to make 8, then they're the ones who now control all the pieces. We watch and see. But has there ever been, well, in Cayman history, a coalition government before? Tell my viewers that.
Absolutely. The last several governments were coalition governments. Now, what's interesting is the progressives, 2 election cycles ago, as soon as the night was over, the ballots were done and the votes made clear, the progressives quickly worked behind the scenes and snapped up a couple members and declared that they had formed enough, they had enough members to form the government. The last election cycle, we saw where the coalitions did the exact same thing to the progressives who were late out the gate, and they formed the government. And so right now, there's 0 time to waste. In the Cayman Islands, the election law states that, or rather the Constitution says, that in order for a government to be formed, at least a majority of the 19 members, and so at this rate, at least 10 persons need to come together, 10 elected persons need to come together and say that they've selected amongst themselves a person who they believe fit to be premier. Once that has happened, they then write to the governor, and the governor then issues that decree making the person the premier, and from that, the premier then gets to select his or her cabinet ministers and then asks the governor to appoint them, which happens, of course, at the swearing-in ceremony.
Yeah. Andrel, what's the biggest issue facing Caymanians right now as they look to see what form the government will take?
Well, there are massive issues, and some of the larger deciding issues along the campaign trail this year was the cost of living, the housing crisis. There are many Caymanians who simply say they cannot afford to buy house. The market has skyrocketed outside the earning potential of the average Caymanian. Immigration was another matter that was big. So of all the rest, then there is traffic. On an island, all three of us, to give you some perspective, all three Cayman Islands could fit in Jamaica's smallest parish. Yet, we have people who are having to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to travel down to the other side of the island simply because traffic is horrendous. People are wasting 4 or 5 hours a day in traffic. So there are many things that came to a boiling point at this election cycle. And of course, the politicians all came out and made their promises. And right now, I think the people are waiting anxiously to see what happens. But I think perhaps the key takeaway is that there is almost a shift. And that shift came with a surgence of younger voters and newly made Caymanians. So expatriates who've now gone through the process and have now fully joined the ranks of Caymanians. And they're the ones who seem to be helping to drive the country in a new direction.
Excellent. Angel, really appreciate your perspective this evening. And thank you for your time. Very well done. And we'll catch up. Thank you. As Angel Harris, Cayman Compass, and he just updated us on the situation in the Cayman Islands coming out of Wednesday's election. No majority party just yet. The magic number is 10, 19 elected seats. There are a few other seats that are appointed, but of the 19 elected members, of that 19, 10 is the magic number needed. And the majority party coming out of Wednesday's vote had 7, but there are 2 parties with 4, and then so 7 and 4, 11 and 4, 15, and then 4 others. Now people are trying to scramble to form a coalition to be the first to 10 to go to the governor to get a decree to form a government. Interesting days ahead for the Cayman Islands. That's my time. I make way for Nika Lewis with the news at 7.
Water this morning.
Your girlfriend what I do in my corner office.
In your corner office.
Yeah.
We're going to a marine biologist kind of that corner office. We'll be studying the environment this morning. In the boat.
Yeah.
In the boat. So tune in to the underwater corner office. You never know what you'll find out.
Hold on, this is what you're wearing, Carl?
Yeah, man.
You come bush out though.
Bush out for the boat. God is on board. Fret not.
In a world where innovation meets tradition, agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
Spend your Friday with Tamighty. We'll get the fun going with React made possible by KFC. Then it's a sunrise Latin fusion. Chilitos celebrates Cinco de Mayo. From food to film, we're talking Peter Tosh Town origin of a rebel